it, but not all. All companies recognize the high school diploma. Period. So you don't have to worry about whether somebody's up to date on what WorkKeys is or if they're not up to date or whatever. Oh, and I just started a new video. If you'd like to join, those of you that are on the conference call. Everybody, I launched a new video. Okay. So any questions about the GED? Is anybody considering taking the GED?
No, I think I'm gonna go with the HiSET.
Okay. With that being said, is anybody considering testing after this class is done? Like starting to schedule the test like next week or the week after?
I would like to, but I was thinking about taking the pre-test on Aztec to see what I need to brush up on.
Okay. Yeah, and keep in mind too that the since we always talk about passing, there may be some things that according to Aztec, because if you get a 40% in Aztec on things, you'll pass the GED. Aztec is more difficult. I'm sorry, you'll pass your high school equivalency. So Aztec is more rigorous than the actual high school equivalency. So that's something else to think about too, is that your scores, although they, for example, could be low, do not necessarily mean that you're not ready to take the test. So in fact,
yeah, whenever I did take a test on Aztec, I never gotten a 67, which 67 said not ready. But
no, yeah, that might be according to Aztec, but our numbers have shown, our data has shown that people that were averaging like 40s are passing the actual HiSET or TASC or GED test.
Yeah, that's actually great.
Yeah, it's more rigorous than what the actual test is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the things I would do is once you take it, you could either reach out to me or you could reach out to Amy. Actually, Amy would probably be the best bet, and say, "Hey, here are my scores. I know that the test is harder than the actual. I know Aztec is harder than the actual test. By these scores, do you think I'm ready to move on?" Because that's where the program is moving. We're moving towards numbers, and not to get on a soapbox, but like teachers, for whatever reason, a lot of times hate numbers, but men lie and women lie. Numbers don't lie. Like I can look at somebody else who scored the exact same way you did, and I can tell by their test score how likely you are to pass. So that is more, the numbers are more valuable than my opinion, than how you feel, than anything else. And that's the kind of conversations we want the navigators to start having. We want them to look at your score and then be able to tell you to test. Especially now, it would be a great time to test if they have everything set up because of the fact that we're all home. We have a lot of time.
Yeah, I don't want to wait too long because I'm going to start forgetting everything.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So let's look. Let's see here. Let's look at the TASC. So the TASC is 7 hours and 40 minutes. The test, you need a minimum score of 500 on reading, writing, math, and science, and social studies to pass. And you must have a 2 out of 8 score on the writing prompts. So it looks like writing is going to have a lower standard with the TASC than with the HiSET or the GED. Gotta set this up so everybody can see. Okay.
Seems like that's the longest test as well.
Correct. And some people like that. Some people like having more time, even if they have more questions. It's all on an individual basis. Because you're testing later on in life, you can be more picky. All right. Now, it's available in English and Spanish, although I don't think for anybody who's on here now, the Spanish component would be an advantage. But They do have it in Spanish, and there's like large print versions. They also have audio components of it. That could be advantageous though. So if they're going to read the math questions out loud to you because it's a math test and not a reading test, that could be advantageous if English is not your first language. So that's something else to consider.
Well, like with my driving test, I like to use the headphones because sometimes you're just not reading it right, but when you hear it, it clicks.
Yeah, so that could be an advantage with the Task C. Is that if there's an audio component, then I imagine that they're reading the math questions out loud to you, or anything that is not an explicit like reading test, they're going to be reading it out loud to you, and that could be an advantage. I didn't see that with the GED, so that could be an advantage with the Task C. All right. So talked about the minimum points. All right. So they do have distinguished achievement, but again, no one. There's not going to be a lot of value in having a higher score on this than a lower score. That's a passing score. Like if you pass, that's really the goal more than distinguished honors. But if you want to go for that, I know that some people want to enter like a medical program. You can get a distinguished achievement score, like a distinction, if you're getting a 560 or better in math, a 580 or better in reading, or a 560 or better in writing. So if you want to go to CSN, which I highly recommend, and you don't want to take the lower level math and reading, then that could be an advantage for you. You could say, hey, look, I scored this, I should not be in the lower level math or reading. And that's important because a lot of times scholarships don't pay for remedial math, like Math 96 or English 96. And they're usually also not for a credit either. They're like pretty much pass or fail to get you into Math 120 or reading 110 or whatever. Questions on that so far? So to get your scores back, it differs from state to state. The computer base is obviously is going to be faster, and it's within like 3 to 24 hours of the test. Looks like it starts reporting, and you'll be able to access your score through the Task C portal within 2 to 3 days. So it looks like your scores, if you take it online, are going to be delivered to you faster than the GED within 2 or 3 days. The reports for the paper-based test can take up to 10 business days, which means it could be as long as 2 weeks. And by the time they come to you, yeah, about 14 days, so 10 business days. If you do the computer version, you can only see how you did in most sections of the test right after you finish. Right. So if you do the computer version, you can see pretty much how you did on most of it right after you're done. So you would already know whether you're going to pass or not. You'd have a good feeling. So if you need this, I know I've had students that need this to get promoted, and you really want your results, and a whole bunch of stuff is banking on this. That might be an advantage with the Task C if you do the computer version. All right. Now, with the Task C, if you don't finish, you can retake a subtest as many times as you need. All right. You do not need to receive a passing score in just one of the subtests. You need to retake only the subtest and not the entire test. So that's nice. Just like the GED. You can retake that area. Now, I know that they're talking about that different states have different policies on taking the subtest. I don't know. I don't believe that Nevada has any kind of restrictions on you taking it again. And I'm not familiar with any time limits for you to do the subtest. Now, with the Task C, you can retake 2 subtests free once you take the whole test. So that's another advantage. Right? So you can retake it. Every additional retake is $10.40. Questions about the Task C? let's see.
Good. No, I'm good.
Okay, let's see if anybody has a question on the live chat. Okay. Ruth, did you have any
The
questions?
video went down.
No, I launched a new one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just signed out of it.
Yeah, Ruth is on it. Ruth, did you have any questions about? Okay, good. All right. So that's a TASC. What's that?
I guess the new video, I have it.
Okay. All right. So now we have the test that is probably the most popular as far as this program is concerned, and that's going to be the HiSET. Okay. So the HiSET is the test we're going to have most amount of resources for. They have even other practice tests that you can take. I don't recommend doing all of the practice tests for the HiSET. Okay. I notice more students are just not confident and insecure about their test taking skills, and they'll pass a test and then they'll say things like, I don't know how I passed the math. I'm an idiot. I don't know how I did that. Well, it's better that you take the actual test and now you know you're not going to have to do the math portion again than being insecure, scared. You keep taking these practice tests over and over again, and the practice tests mean absolutely nothing, right? In the grand scheme of your goal of graduating. So I would go by what Aztec is giving you. I would go by what you got on the tape test, talking to your instructor, a little bit of how you feel. But again, I would take my feelings out of taking the HiSET, right? Yes, it is 7 hours and 50 minutes. I'm sorry, 5 minutes. But again, go with what the numbers are telling you, because most students that I know are very shy, very much afraid. They're not confident. And again, that's just your opinion of yourself. That's not what the numbers are showing, right? And unless they make you take a practice test to get a voucher, which I know that was the case at one time, then I would not take the practice test and I would go take the HiSET test. I don't see them, my personal opinion, I don't see them forcing you to take the practice test though. If your tape score is on point and your Aztec lessons are passed and your instructor feels confident based off of what you've been doing in the classroom, I don't see them making you take another test. Because again, our goal is to pass, to pass, to pass, to pass, to pass. All right. Everything we talked about the HiSET still remains true. You have multiple choice questions and an essay. So you're not going to have short answer. You're not going to have fill in the blank and all these other things to the extent that you would with the GED and the TASC. Also paper-based, also computer-based. Questions about that? Check the live chat. Okay. Any questions for Ruth? From Ruth?
Sorry, I accidentally hung up. I was trying to unmute and I hung up.
Oh, okay. No worries. No? Okay. So there's 3 of you. Okay. So who right here, right now wants to dedicate themselves to taking the test next week or sometime this month, next month? Or sorry, sometime next month. Is that Ildi?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're thinking about taking... Go ahead.
Yeah, I would want to take mine sometime in May also if everything gets opened back up. I'd rather do it while it's fresh in my brain and I'm remembering than waiting.
And and for Ruth as well, if you're planning on taking it this upcoming month. And then the other question I always ask is, are you going to do the paper version, the computer based? Looks like everyone's going to do the HiSET. Which version are you going to do, and why?
I'm going to do the computer except for the essay because it's easier. Yeah, I agree. I would want to do the computer, and then because with the computer we still get to have like a scratch paper for math, no? Like
correct.
Write out our one division or whatever. whatever.
And even for reading, you should still have scratch paper for reading as well, to like take notes, write down key information, stuff like that as well. So
Now, will the scratch paper and stuff be provided?
Yes.
Or is that something we have to bring? Because I know they're not going to want us to cheat. So.
yes, they'll provide you with paper for that very reason. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever gone. Anytime I've gone to test, and I want to say it's the same thing, they usually like wand you, like you're going into a club to make sure you don't have anything to cheat with. And they make you like empty out your pockets. I think the only thing you're allowed to have is like a water bottle with no label on it, because I guess people have put answers in the label. At least that's the way I've always tested. So I think I imagine the companies are all going to be the same. So there's that part of it. Okay. And then would you guys be testing in the morning or the afternoon?
With the morning. I could go either way. I would probably prefer to do afternoons just because my mornings are pretty chaotic, but
Okay. Yeah, because that's something I also tell people to really consider too. Like, because the more meticulous you are with it, the more confidence you build. Like, if you're going at a time that you know is easier for you, you know there's no other commitment,